And especially in a year when the Ravens fired John Harbaugh. We have the Bills 8-8, 500 under McDermott in the playoffs. What can you share about his future in Buffalo?
Well, I think that's it, Hannah. Anytime you see a team change a head coach like Baltimore did with John Harbaugh after 18 years, people are going to ask the question anytime any coach struggles to get over the hump. And here's a team that has struggled to get over the hump with Sean McDermott, who's been one of the best coaches in the game, who still has 2 years left on his contract. There's been no indication from the Bills at all that they'd be willing to make a change. But in a season where we've seen teams make changes that weren't necessarily expected, anything is always possible in the National Football League. But again, Sean McDermott had this team within a field goal of reaching the AFC Championship game. A lot of people thought this would be the year for Josh Allen without Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson in the postseason. But alas, it's not. And that means there are going to be questions that come up like the one that you just asked me just now.
Listen, in a fan base so desperate to get to a Super Bowl, much less win one, something they haven't done with Josh Allen. Speaking of desperate teams, the New York Giants finally have their man. I understand all the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed with the Giants. So if you could start the coaching news there with John Harbaugh, what did he tell you about this new chapter in his career?
Well, he's excited to work with the Maras and Tisches, who own the New York Giants, and he should be because he'll be reporting directly to them. And that was part of the hang-up with the language in the contract that he would be reporting to the owners. A lot of people view him in a separate category and bucket than the Giants general manager, Joe Schoen, but Harbaugh gets done a 5-year deal worth in the vicinity of roughly $100 million. And while Bo Nix was being ruled out for the year, last night the Falcons finalized their deal to hire the former Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. They flew him into Atlanta yesterday, wasted no time in trying to get a deal done, and now Kevin Stefanski becomes the second head coach hired in this cycle. And about that same time as well, the Green Bay Packers finalized an extension with Matt LaFleur. The two sides have been talking throughout the week. There have been questions that have been raised in Green Bay in previous weeks about his future. The Packers had some questions. The two sides met this week. LaFleur gets his extension, and there should be extensions forthcoming here in the very near future for the Packers general manager, Brian Gutekunst, their executive, Russ Ball, as well. So they are essentially running it back with the people that they had in place. The Packers president, Ed Policy, making some of the first significant decisions of his presidency there in Green Bay.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Green Bay is nothing if not steady, right? With their head coaches, their quarterbacks. This is kind of follows their MO. We look forward to seeing you on Countdown, noon Eastern time. Thank you, Chef.
Fractured his ankle on this play. A design run in overtime. He's tackled, suffers the injury, stays in for the rest of the drive that ends with a game-winning field goal. Now, including the playoffs, Nick started each of his first 36 NFL games, but now he will be a spectator as the Broncos look to get to the Super Bowl. Hannah?
Adam Schefter joins us now. It was so crazy. Bo Nix is on the field doing his game-winning interview with Tracy, right? And then we hear about an hour later that he's set to undergo surgery on Tuesday instead of getting ready to start the AFC Championship. Schefty, what's been the reaction to this shocker?
There's never been a situation quite like this in the history of the National Football League, Hannah, where a number one seed wins a divisional playoff game at home to set up a home game to get to the Super Bowl, and it loses its quarterback, starting quarterback, after the game when people don't even realize. Sean Payton held an initial press conference that wrapped up only to come back into the press conference room to deliver the news that Bo Nix had fractured his ankle and will undergo season-ending surgery. It was one of those stories that when people heard about it, they didn't believe it. All of a sudden, people are calling me, texting me, is that real on Bo Nix? Yes, that is real. That is tragic. That is something that we haven't seen before, where a team loses a quarterback in this particular situation. Philadelphia lost Carson Wentz, but that was during the regular season when Nick Foles had to step in. We've seen the New York Giants lose Phil Simms, and Jeff Hostetler had to step in. But there's never been a quarterback in this situation where next week, Jarrett Stidham, the Denver Broncos' new starting quarterback will throw his first pass of the season in the AFC Championship game, potentially against his former New England Patriots team, unless the Texans can win today, and it would be Houston.
So, paint this picture for us, because Stidham, he's going to start in this all-important game against either the Texans or the Patriots. He's only taken 4 snaps this season. As you mentioned, he hasn't had a pass attempt. So what more can you tell us about this scenario? Can you paint the picture for us?
Well, first of all, Jarrett Stidham is somebody that was a 4th-round draft pick of the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick drafted him to potentially succeed Tom Brady in New England. And the Patriots offensive coordinator at the time, Josh McDaniels, liked Stidham enough that he signed him in Las Vegas. And when the Raiders benched Derek Carr, they did so in part to protect themselves against his money, but also because they wanted to get a look at Jarrett Stidham, who in his first game as the Raiders starter threw for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns against a 49ers defense that year went on to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So I know people think backup quarterback, hasn't played, incapable. That's not how Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos think. Ideally, you want Bo Nix, who's been such a tremendous success for that franchise, to start this game, but that's not going to happen. But they have great faith in Jarrett Stidham. They believe he can get the job done. And as one Broncos official texted me last night, we need him to be our Nick Foles.
Yeah, exactly. Super Bowl winner for Philly, but he hasn't started a game in 2 years. He's either going to face the NFL's best defense in the Texans or a Patriots defense that sacked Justin Herbert 5 times last week. So it won't be an easy task. And that banner crossing the iPhone last night with your tweet was about as shocking a one as I can remember in recent memory. We're back with you in just a sec. Jay?
Yeah, and it really was. You're like, what the heck? What? Okay, Damian Woody and Herm Edwards here. Herm, let's start with you. If you're Sean Payton, how are you getting Jarrett Stidham ready for the biggest game of his career?
Well, obviously, you're going to tailor the offense to his strength. I mean, that's what Sean is going to do. I mean, he's not going to ask him to do things he's incapable of doing. So with that being said, they're going to run the ball a little bit more. And understand this. As much as we talk about this situation, it's bad. You never want this to happen. Last time I checked, they got a pretty good defense. That's what he's going to tell the quarterback. Don't lose the game. Just do what I tell you to do. He's done this before. Look, we're talking about this is shocking. Well, you know what's more shocking than this? When Phillip Rivers came back at 44 years old. So,
no,
he'll be fine. It's got to be okay.
Coach, the word I would use, complimentary. Complementary football. That's what you got to do in these type of situations. You talked about it. You already just talked about it. Talk about the defense. They got one of the best defenses in the National Football League. You're playing at home. You got to run the ball with R.J. Harvey and company. Everyone has to play their part. You basically tell Jarrett Stidham, I don't need you to be Superman. Just go out there and do the job. Distribute the football, make plays when you have to, but lean on the guys around you, okay? That's how we're going to have a chance to win this football game, regardless of who the opponent is that's coming to Denver next week.
Okay, there was a lot going on last night outside of what happened to Bo Nix. So let's get to the highlight and check out what happened in overtime, because it was back and forth. Bills Broncos, Josh Allen entering Saturday 0-6 in his career in overtime games, including 2 in the playoffs. Under 8 minutes to go in OT, Bills ball. Allen's going to drop back deep to Brandon Cooks, and it looks like Brandon Cooks has a catch, but no. Jaquan McMillan comes away with it. How the heck? The play's ruled as an interception. Here's what McMillan said about this crucial play.
In the biggest moments, I'm ready for it. Like, I want them guys to throw the ball to me. You know, I'm going to try to make a play, and that's what I did.
McMillan and the Broncos' 5th takeaway of the game. We're going to talk about that in a sec. A couple plays later, Broncos got the ball. Bo Nix, a fade for Cortland Sutton, and that's going to be broken up, and there's a flag. Darren Johnson's like, no, but, and look, you're going, Why are you going,
You keep talking.
All right. Josh Allen dejected on the bench. 2 plays later, Nix lobbing one deep for Marvin Mims, and that's another. Throw the flag. Tre'Davious White called for pass interference.
That's the correct call. He's not playing the ball.
He would add an unsportsmanlike
That's the foul there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Josh Allen still on the bench, emotional. Will Lutz good. Broncos win. After the game, Sean McDermott still wants to talk about that call.
It's hard for me to, and I've had a chance to look at, it's hard for me to understand why it was ruled the way it was ruled. And if it is ruled that way, then why wasn't it slowed down? Just to make sure that we have this right. That would have made a lot of sense to me, to make sure that we have this thing right, because that's a pivotal play in the game. We have the ball at the 20, maybe kicking a game-winning field goal right there. So I'll just leave it at that. But I'm saying it because I'm standing up for Buffalo, damn it. I'm standing up for us. Because what went on is not how it should go down, in my estimation. That play, these guys spent 3 hours out there playing football, pouring their guts out, to not even say, hey, let's just slow this thing down. That's why I'm bothered.
In your eyes, was it catch down by contact?
In my eyes, it was, yes. In my eyes, it was.
He thought his guy had it. McMillan said, no, I had it. So, guys, one word. Damien, start with you. Well, Herm, start with you. Completion or interception?
I thought it was a catch. And I thought they should have reviewed it, so I'm giving you 2 words.
Okay.
You got to review that. A big play like that in that game, for that's not to be reviewed, that's a crying shame. In a playoff game, we got all the time in the world. You got to review that play. Now, I might be wrong, but at least review it. The head coach is exactly right. That's why he called timeout. He wanted these guys to review it, and they still didn't do it.
See, I think it was an interception because I don't think he completed the whole catch even when he hit the ground. And so, but I agree with Coach in that situation. Review the play. It's too important. It's not like we got anywhere to go. It's a great game.
You can run another commercial. You can sell something on television. Just review the play.
I mean, that's a good point. Where are we going?
Nowhere.
All right. Herm, how do you see this season as a whole for Josh Allen and the Bills?
Another lost season for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I mean, this poor guy, he does everything. And, people say he turns the ball over. He does turn the ball over in his career. I get it. Okay. He's turned the ball over 409 times. Brett Favre turned it over 508 times and won a Super Bowl. So all you Buffalo fans say he turns the ball over too much. Brett Favre did the same thing, won a Super Bowl. This is a shame for this guy. He's a one-man band at times, trying to beat football teams by himself half the time.
Jay, I would say this. Up until that game yesterday, none of those playoff losses by Josh Allen, they were never on Josh Allen. He was never responsible until yesterday. Okay? You cannot win. Even though the Buffalo Bills had every opportunity to win that game, he turned the ball over 5 times, 4 times by the quarterback.
Yes.
He even admitted yesterday, and I give him a lot of props for being accountable yesterday, and you could tell it hurt. It hurt Josh Allen, the fact that he committed 4 turnovers in that game, and they still had an opportunity. But that's not the Josh Allen that we've been accustomed to seeing in the postseason.
All right, we're going to hear from Josh Allen later on. You're right, they still had a chance to win.
They had a chance.
All right, gents, thank you so much. See you back on SportsCenter later in the show. Hand it back over to you.